Back to the cloud.
Okay.
Awesome. So we have a huge agenda today, and let's get started with while members are joining. Um, we'd love to know from where you're joining. You can put it in the chat. I'm joining from UK, London, and it's a nice sunny day. It was kind of cloudy yesterday, but it's a beautiful day today. Okay, so we have a packed agenda today, and let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Ally of the Month call. Our community is global, so this session is being recorded for those who can't join us live today. Feel free to raise your hand or ask question. You are also welcome to drop your question in chat anytime. I'm Dipali. I lead the Allyship pillar here at Women in Streaming Media. And for those who are new to our network, we will begin with brief introduction to Women in Streaming Media and our Allyship pillar. Then Lisa will introduce our Ally of the Month. Our guest will share the insight experience focusing on allyship, and then we'll have an AMA session. We have some curated, interesting questions, but feel free to ask your own questions in the chat. Then we will wrap up the call by sharing the details on upcoming events and ways to stay connected with us. So let's start with our new members. As a global networking organization, our mission is to increase diversity and give more visibility to women leaders within the streaming media space. We have more than 2,400 plus followers on LinkedIn across the globe from streaming media and connected industries. We create the forum and events to connect, provide allyship, mentorship to increase their participation in the industry and in the leadership roles. With our free membership, WSM members get opportunity to connect with supportive global community. Through our speaking engagement, members get the platform to share their experience and contribute to streaming media industry's growth. Our mentorship program is built around three principles: educate, connect, and empower. And it's completely free for our members. Our education pillar is all about providing the resources and opportunities to empower women at every stage of the career. I'm excited to announce that our education pillar is a finalist at this year for Corporate Award for Advancing Skills and Learning Award. So it's a great time to be in the industry. And about the allyship pillar, we launched the allyship pillar in 2024 to create a network of advocates in the streaming media industry. Just like any other aspect of the company's culture, allyship is the example to set from the top. It's the shared responsibility, and it's one of the key elements of leadership. We partner with authors of Good Guides, a powerful guide to being a better allies to women at work. We're not just taking our allyship, we're just not talking about the allyship. We're giving the people knowledge, tools, and resources to practice it. So every month, we connect on the Ally of the Month call to highlight the incredible leaders who are pushing for diversity and consistently showing up for women in streaming media industry. Today's call is very special. We are meeting a leader who is all about real allyship, creating a lasting impact, lasting change through everyday actions, a genuine collaboration, and making sure that everyone has a place in the industry. And now the wait is over. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you, Dipali. We are really excited today. So please join me in welcoming Josh Miely, Vice President of Content Design and Development at National Association of Broadcasters. Josh has been a driving force at NAB since 2007, advancing through roles in member experience and industry affairs. Before stepping into his current leadership position in April 2023, he spearheaded key educational programs ranging from NAB Show and NAB Show New York to the NAB Podcast, which he produced and hosted. As a VP, Josh now oversees a full spectrum of event programming, especially for NAB Show and NAB Amplify, virtual events shaping content that speaks to the latest trends and thought leadership in media. Known for his dynamic energy and keen insight, he's committed to crafting inclusive, future-facing experiences that elevate diverse voices across our industry. Before joining NAB, he worked in production, promotions, sales, and talent roles for various radio stations in Maryland and Ohio. Josh is from Struthers. He played for an Ohio State sports team, which we have to hear more about that. And then he works with his 4-year-old golden doodle named Charlie, whom he trained with his mom. Josh also opened a dog park. So I love a dog lover, and I'm assuming that you've got to be a football fan if you're Ohio State.
Yes, most certainly, and I will be at it's odd over my right shoulder. I'll be at an Ohio State game against Ohio University early next month. So my alma mater where I went to school, against the school in Ohio when it comes to sports that everybody roots for. So hello everyone, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It's I'm an empath, but it's one of those things, I don't mind being in the spotlight, but I also it's like, oh, that's just the stuff. Don't worry about it. You can obviously talk to me later and we can delve into all of that, but that's not why we are here today, correct? So we are here for a wonderful conversation. I've got a great presentation lined up that I will get us into here as soon as I can find it. There we go. Let me click that and let me bring it back up in Zoom and we'll get ourselves started.
Excellent.
All right. Can everybody see the screen? I'll make sure
can.
on that.
Yep.
All right. Well, the first thing, and this is outside of what we're going to be talking about today, but those who have been coming to NAB for a while, NAB Show that is, including Women Streaming Media, who've been great partners with us at multiple shows now doing sessions, will notice something's different on this slide, and that is we have a new brand. We rolled out a new logo and type font that you'll be seeing at our shows starting in New York in October. We're very excited about that, and kudos to our entire marketing team who helped spearhead that project, including Dorian Sullivan, who was on this call and actually was the leader as we did our brand study and pushed in for all of this. But we'll meet Dorian a bit later as I go along. So for today's agenda, we're going to make the most of the 20 to 22 minutes that I've got by going through the following topics. We're going to talk about why mindset matters as you try to be an ally and try to push our industry forward in various ways. We're going to see how that ties into NAB's overall values and leadership at our organization. I think we are a tremendous example of the way to set up an organization moving forward in this capacity. We'll talk about the partnerships that NAB Show has that accentuate women in streaming media. We'll talk about the overall global reach that NAB Show has, kind of how we work with people so we can understand that and you can kind of see where organizations may fit in to participate and talk with us. We'll talk about in general as just an employee and someone working at a company, how you can be a part of the NAB Show. We'll then delve into inclusivity and being an ally in today's media landscape, which is a lot different than it was even 3 years ago. We'll talk about general workplace change, and then we'll have some closing thoughts. So off and running, please feel free to stop me as we go for any questions, or we'll wait till the Q&A at the end if you just want to jot them down and keep going, and we can refer back to slides as we move along. When it comes to your mindset, and this is just the way that I see things in general, as a leader and as a manager, no matter the task, it all starts with the way that you bring yourself into something. So you need to recognize, one of the things we did at NAB is the Clifton Strengths Test to see the types of personality traits that we have that accentuate and the types of leaders that we are. I am primarily a developer, which makes this first one, recognize and cultivate potential in others, kind of easy. That's knowing and seeing when people have different traits that they exude in the workplace or different things that they just kind of mention that you can see of interest, that you can point them and guide them in the right ways so that they can open their world in ways that are exciting to them and allow them to bring more to an organization. I always say, stick to your core values of who you are and broadcast your purpose. As we talk about what the women in streaming media do, look, you might go and sit on a panel, and this is, I'll talk a lot today through, when you're participating in events and you're there to be the subject matter expert, it's okay to weave into and broadcast that purpose that yes, I'm a subject matter expert and I know this amazingly well, but what I love to do in my passion is to find people like me and lift them up in our industry. When you do that, what happens is you get people who otherwise may not think that they've got allies out there to come up to you and see how they can partner and you can help shepherd them in certain ways. And look, it doesn't always have to be enormous, right? It can just be that one-off 5-minute conversation after the panel that sets them on a way that they will always remember. Over communicate, but listen more than you speak. That's just one of the tenets of how I've gotten to where I am. If things are happening in the background that I can tell you that aren't proprietary, that are holding something up, or that are the reason why we're waiting to make a decision, I'm going to say that. But also when I'm in conversations, I don't love to be the person that's leading them. I love to be the person that's listening and bouncing off people, because I purely feel like you sponge a lot of information, you find your mentors, and that's how you can grow in your industry. Seeing the world through others' eyes, look, that's the empath's way, right? That's understanding where you're coming from, or understanding that, hey, if DePauli and I have had a great relationship and today she seemed off, it's not anything to do with me. There's probably something going on there. Maybe I want to reach out and see if there's some way I can help with whatever is happening. There's a ton out there we all don't know. Obviously, the media landscape is changing all the time. That's why it's always great to ask questions. Put kindness in the world, you receive kindness back. This is one of the big tenets of what I am. We can set a tone in any conversation we have with anybody just by coming in with a smile, just by being open and inviting. And that really changes the dynamic of what the conversation is. And it does even over time with different personality types who may not be, have those ridges on their sides, don't have the soft center. You can still, when they understand this is what you bring every time, it gets them to step up and communicate in a different way. And it's a way that I find tends to get things done faster because they see progress. When somebody's kind and open, they feel the ability to voice their opinions, and then you can move conversations and projects forward. And finally, you want to find a workplace that syncs with all of your values. This is kind of tough. Sometimes we think of it, sometimes we don't. I was lucky enough 18 years ago when I joined NAB to, I'll say, fall into the right workplace with the values that I wanted to have and aspired to be. I didn't know exactly that's what we were getting to, but NAB is tremendous in that regard. And these here on the left are the general values of the National Association of Broadcasters. The ones that jump out to me that I love the most is the teamwork aspect. I love that as I was putting this together and I mentioned to Dorian I was doing this, she's like, is there anything I can do to help? Would you like me to join? And here she is sitting with me watching the presentation, and we'll say hi in a couple of minutes. I love that we empower our people. I started as a special projects coordinator, which was an amazing Washington, D.C. title, and made me feel like I was on a TV show, but really just meant that I was, the guy doing the logistics. And in 18 years, I've risen to the place where I'm at today. And I love the service side of it. At the end of the day, I'm very much a service first individual, making sure that those values that I had were reflected in my organization that I work for makes me put my chest up and want to do everything I can and run through walls for my organization. On the right side, that's what NAB is about. We're about advocating, innovating, and educating for broadcasters and the larger media, entertainment, and technology community. And I think we do a pretty decent job at that. So based off of all this, the breakdown that we have in NAB is tremendous when it comes to allyship and representation. Our executive team is 9 members, 5 of them are women. I'm going to call out Michelle Duke, whose picture is here. She has been the head of our NAB Leadership Foundation, which looks to turn people who are in broadcast radio, who are at mid-level or management level, into people that will own radio stations, and primarily does it for people of color. She was running that, and as the years went by in the last 5 years, she was also named our Chief Diversity Officer. So she does a lot of different programs on our association side and some that tie in with the show to make sure NAB is promoting diversity. And then it jumps down from the executive team to the senior staff, where we have 40% of our senior staff are women. It's across all the different departments that NAB has, and there's people with great tenure here. Justine McVaney, who is my current boss, she's been with the company for over 30 years. Dorian, who again I keep mentioning and teasing, and her eyes probably getting wide, like, oh, I'm not gonna say much. But she's been with us for I think 7 to 10 years now. So it's a great place where people want to stay and people are allowed to grow. When we talk about NAB show and we look at the partnerships of what we do at the show, we have a multitude of different partnerships, but these are the 4 I wanted to call out. Of course, thank you to Pauly and Allyship for partnering with us with the Women in Streaming Media, doing sessions with us, doing meetups. We also work with the Mentoring and Inspiring Women in Radio group. They do a lipstick and lobster dinner at our show every year. The Alliance for Women in Media does a breakfast where they do awards and have a panel every year in Las Vegas with us. And Amy DeLuise, who runs Gals and Gear, this is a program that looks to forward in the technology space of broadcasting and streaming women's roles and women's careers. And it's turned into an idea that she had 10 years ago while at the show hosting a panel to now being a half-day event on Tuesdays where they focus on one leadership aspect and really do a deep dive workshop. We talk about NAB globally. There's multiple ways that we work with people and multiple groups that we work with. We work with niche communities like the creator economy, state and region associations here in the US, different chambers and economic agencies, also global trade associations, and again, women in media groups like this. On our next slide here, this is really just kind of a breakdown once again of what was on that previous slide if it was a little tough to read, of the various groups that NAB works with and how we try to amass this broad coalition going into every show of people excited to be there and people that wouldn't always be there. The one I want to call out on this slide specifically are the government ministries that we work with in tandem to see if we can bring over full contingents and have discussions and try to curate conversations that they want to hear, bringing over conversations that we may need to hear. You know, a lot of times in the US, we think about Hollywood. Well, what about Bollywood? What's going on there? That's what's rather exciting. How we work with them, how we connect globally is partnering, building here. And this is where I want to bring in Dorian for a quick second to introduce herself, as all of these global reach connections that we do, this all falls under her purview. She is really the one who makes our deep-rooted connections to groups and states and governments that are international. So Dorian, if you just wouldn't mind saying hello, telling people how they can get in contact with you as we move forward. Obviously through Women in Streaming Media, they'll work with me, but if ideas are percolating out there, they'll want to work with you, and just anything else you want to say about our global reach and our global projects that we do with NAB Show.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. And thank you also for inviting me and sharing a little bit of the spotlight. So yes, I handle international relations and brand strategy for NAB Show New York, and NAB. And we are always looking for strategic partnerships. I think that this ally concept is absolutely brilliant. And that you are not only building awareness of your strategic partners and who's supporting you in the industry, but you're making meaningful connections. And so I like to do the same thing with all of the different organizations that you saw on the previous slide. And ways that we make those connections is by putting together custom tours at the show, or hosting events maybe in country or at different embassies, or doing dedicated sessions while at the show, or even remotely and online. We can work with partners in many different ways, but it's all about bringing the community together and elevating the industry as a whole. And so we do that through our relationships. And these are just some of the ways that we make those connections. And then I also just wanted to ask, because you are doing these great ally collaborations and everything, if you have connections with either organizations that we had on the previous slide, or that you've had ally presentations from that you think would benefit from a connection with NAB Show, please, by all means, connect them to myself or to Josh. I will also be at IBC in a meeting room in Hall 8. We can do something in person there, and my email address is dsullivan@nab.org. And so I hope to hear from you with any recommendations or anybody else listening.
Thank you so much, Dorian, and go ahead and put your email in the chat here as we wrap up. I think that'll help everybody as well. And I think you'll find some folks over at IBC. I am pretty sure Women in Streaming Media are there with a couple of panels.
Yes, I
So
think that actually their first meetup was at IBC. Is that correct? And then and it started from there.
That is absolutely
Yes.
correct. Our
That's
inaugural
right.
meetup was at IBC.
Well, we're going to celebrate again in about a month.
yeah, the anniversary is coming, which is super exciting. So
Yes.
as I transition into here, the second half of the presentation, being mindful of our time, we see the 2025 show. 23% of all of our speakers who were on stage were women. Again, I mentioned Gals and Gear. They had their tech summit. We did have some primary and large speakers on our main stage, including Sylvia from Microsoft who spoke. I mentioned the AWM annual breakfast, the MIW lipstick and lobster dinner, which is quite fun. And I've gotten invites to, but I've always been double booked. I hope to get to this year. And then of course, the great Women in Streaming Media networking events that we've done in multiple ways. We once again held in 2025. As we look towards 2026 and thinking about how people can engage with us and become a part of our program outside of, of course, DePauli and Alicia will work with Women in Streaming Media and put together a panel. But there's opportunities within our broadcast engineering and IT conference who will have their call for papers coming out in the end of September to potentially put in and try to build a paper to present within there. I know it says broadcast engineering and IT. We assume that broadcasters are getting deep into streaming. We all know this in the way the media landscape's converging, so streaming topics do pop up in there. We have a general call for proposals where you can easily just build a session and pitch it to us, or pitch yourself as just as a speaker. Our friend Dan Rayburn runs our streaming summit. Connecting with him and putting in for call for speakers there is worthwhile. We have a business of entertainment group of sessions we work on with the Ankler. If anybody's got connections to them, reaching out there and saying, here's something I might be able to provide is an opportunity. Press are always coming. We always look for great press to partner with us to moderate panels and to get the word out. So if you're a member of the press, we want to hear from you. Company sessions, those are our sponsored sessions. If you know someone who comes and exhibits at the show multiple year over year, talking to them to say, hey, are you going to get on the program this year and put a panel together? And if so, I can be of service. That's a great way to do it. And then as we build out and try to bring as many CEOs to the show, if CEO of your company, or if you are the CEO of your company and you want to participate, reaching out to me to see what's available is an easy way to go about it. And what we've got here is just a picture from the 2024 main stage where we had Jamila Jamil with Kara Mayer Robinson as one of our featured discussions and talking about inclusivity within media and how an actress can chart her own path. So when we think about speaking engagements in general, these are just some things to think about broadly, with NAB show, but across the board. Conference production costs over the last 5 years have skyrocketed. Las Vegas, if you've got a conference there, has decided and realized they are the entertainment capital of the world, and now they should get paid as much. So when it comes to producing an event at that convention center, year over year, costs have been going up by about 3 to 4% consistently. So when you've got that happening, plus attendance still recovering from 2020 and what we all went through when we had to do this as our regular day-to-day, we're finding that it's a little bit tougher to get people to events, and it's a little bit tougher. You have to be cost effective in how you produce events. Marketing budgets are fluctuating, of course, at different places, and everything else that's on this slide. So what you can do to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance to speak at places, present your value. Talk about how you can promote events. Let me get this out. Hide it. There we go. Promoting events to your audience. Hey, if I come speak, I can tell all these people, this community who you may want to have come to your show, that I'll be there and they might come. Obviously, we're always looking to align with positive brands and brands that are on the cutting edge. And that long tail promotion of, hey, I came to your show, I spoke, but now if you want more information on this trend or topic, I can partner with you and do a blog, do this and that. Just becoming one of that part of that education ecosystem that's consistent, that every event is trying to do. That's the way that in this new normal, when you think about speaking, you can think about putting yourself out there as a primary pick for people that are putting shows together. So now, as we think about inclusivity and how we frame it in America and globally, it's a new corporate media environment, as we know. you guys have to realize the American zeitgeist, we're at I would say an inflection point. Everybody knows media is changing. Everybody semi is questioning their media. And when that happens, coupled with the fact that with AI tools and YouTube and streaming and stuff, there's been a democratization of content where kind of anybody can be a content producer. And all of a sudden you've got, industry stats showing people are spending more time watching people with curated content on YouTube or a TikTok than they are necessarily on broadcast, and sometimes even streaming. You find that we're at this crossroads of where do we go? How do we make sure as larger entities and companies as the content creators who are, upper echelon professional, when there's still a bunch of amateur stuff that the market has accepted, how do we make sure that we're still relevant? How do we make sure we've got a path forward? How do we then, with all of that, make sure that we're still able to ally with people and still be able to have social consciousness as we move through our careers? So again, this is just where I think focusing on expertise in your workplace, what you're good at, becoming that indisposable asset, making sure that you're thinking about how AI can be incorporated. You don't want to be quote unquote the AI person, but you want to be the person that knows enough about AI that you're saying, well, this is how it helps make my job easier. When it comes to all of that, look, corporate America, if your insights are there, if you are showing that you've got value, that's always going to trump being excluded. People want to move forward. We know we're on razor thin margins. The experts and the people that can help us get to the places we want to get to, those are the people that, regardless of age, color, race, creed, ethnicity, are going to move forward. And remember, always promote yourself. Always remind people of what you're doing in a tactful way. It's not, as a empathetic person, I don't like to boast, but you just have to remind people, hey, I did that thing. Hey, I was on this call. Or again, invite friends to call so that they can do a little bit of that boasting for you. Why it all matters currently is because with the workplace changing, there's a lot happening. Baby boomers in America are looking to retire. We're obviously now in a global environment, which is multicultural. In the US, 50% of female students at universities are female currently. And what that means is that complexion is going to change, whether people who are not allies or not realize it or not, over the next 2 generations, over the next 10, 15, 20 years. AI, as we said, is still wondering what's going to happen. And we're trying to figure out, with this democratization of content in the streaming and broadcast business, how we are profitable. So within all of that, our chance, what we can do, what everyone on this call can do, is help redefine these media companies. Again, once again, be that expert in certain ways. Be thoughtful, be nimble. It's the toughest thing for humans to do. Like we resist change because change begets, fear, and there might be a chance of failure tied to it. But we're in an ever-changing environment. We need to be the ones that embrace that. Those that embrace that are the ones that move forward. It's also worth recognizing there are still allies everywhere. Even though America at certain times, politically might seem as not, there's a ton of them across every company, guaranteed. Don't lose sight of human nature and educate and communicate. What that really just means is, again, remind people and show them your expertise that you have, help them frame conversations the way that they should be framed within the streaming industry so that they can see your point of view. And that thing that I mentioned where people are scared of change, don't lose sight of that. Understand if you're getting pushback, it might just be that human nature of I don't want to see change versus anything that it has to do with you. And you're able to show that graciously, me helping change helps us all move forward, and that gets people to the place that you want them. I've seen this happen firsthand since I moved back to Ohio. I lived in DC from 2007 to 2020, and when I came back, we were in a mayoral race. The town that I live in, Struthers, Ohio, is a former steel town that had our industry go away in 1977, a couple of years before I was born, that is still kind of recovering from that. It had always had a mayor that was a male, and we were always a predominantly Democratic county and city that as 2016 happened and the frustrations around what happened in 2008 and 2009 with the stock market crash and the fact that jobs had not come back we flipped and we became Republican. So in that whole climate that we have, what happens is we wind up electing Catherine Saccone Miller, who is one of my high school friends. I think she was a freshman when I was a senior, who was dedicated to the city and never left, and had always wanted to work in and around. And what she has been able to do working in local government as a lifelong resident is just dedicate herself to listening to people's problems and fixing them. Now, look, they're still complaining. There are still people who, unfortunately, are unseemly towards her. She has an African American husband and multiracial children, and there are a few bad apples in our city who will use that as a way to try to cut her down. What I've loved is even people who on the national ticket might vote Republican have voted for her 3 times overwhelmingly to stay our mayor, because they understand what she's doing for the city. They see the progress that she has been making, and they love, look, it's simple math. When somebody replaces the sidewalk that's been busted up for 20 years, you're happy about it. And she's been able to do a lot of that for our city, which is fantastic, knowing that in 1977, our tax base here in this small town was $7.5 million, and our tax base currently is about $2 million. As I'm winding down, the one thing I just want to remind everybody of is that your mindset has to be empowering, that focuses and moves things forward, and that the momentum of what's happening in this moment and what we're doing with allyship and what Women in Streaming Media is currently doing cannot be stopped. Fear is conquered by purpose. You all have a purpose. You understand now, hopefully, a little bit about how to kind of connect with people who might be fearful. They'll follow you if your purpose is a driven one that they want to hitch a ride on your wagon to, because they see that ultimately it's going to lead to progress. It's going to lead to a business growing or the right sort of content going out. I love incremental progress. It's one of those things, the deeper into your career, you start to understand, hey, I started as this, but now I'm here. And it's because I was head down every day, just living the right way, doing things that I wanted to do that were beneficial for my employer to take us where we wanted to go. Humans gravitate to that forward motion, right? None of us like to be static. We always kind of feel that if we're static, we're not doing as much as we could. And we have this intrinsic need to keep progressing. I mean, it's in us as a DNA and as a species, that's the way that we ensure that the species continues, is but through forward motion. So just always remember that if you're pushing towards that, you're going to get more of that coming back to you. Lasting change, it happens. And sometimes we're frustrated when it doesn't happen immediately, but it's like your garden. You got to plant it and let it groom and grow. Leaders like us, we shape the future. So if we think and put these things through this sort of lens, we can continue on a daily basis slowly to make that incremental progress happen. That is all that I have. These are the dates of our upcoming couple of shows. So if we want to talk about NAB Show New York or NAB Show Las Vegas in the next few minutes in the Q&A, we certainly can. But also, thank you again for giving me this opportunity, and really eager to just talk about, from an interpersonal communication standpoint, how we can keep allies happening and moving forward. So, Dipali or Lisa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, I just want to say this was fantastic, and I hope we're able to share this deck with everybody, because, I couldn't write stuff down fast enough that I'd love to go back and just process it and think through a lot of good ideas and thoughts that you had for everybody. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right, so we will jump into some questions today. So first of all, Josh, can you tell us what allyship means to you, and how has your understanding of it evolved over time throughout your career?
To me, allyship is just making sure that as you're networking and making your connections, that you're open to the entire room, right? And then from there, understanding that if you see someone who, again, you've identified that you can help in some way, or you can help kind of move their stuff or develop in some capacity, that you're open to that, and you'll do it in any way that's kind of asked of you, that's within your powers. And if you don't have those powers, you say as much, right? And I think my journey with it, before even kind of noticing that, happened at my second radio station job. I was I was running a promotion department. I had a group of 4 interns, one of which I was able to turn into like number 2 in my department. She's since gone on to, I think she works, it's one of the I think it's Circle K now. She works up in the top echelon of their marketing department. Circle K is a gas station chain and convenience store chain in the Midwest. But that's where she kind of wanted to go, and it's look, the one thing when you empower people, it allows you to focus on other things that can make things better. They can make it go if you give them the tools and the opportunity. And your job is to just ensure that they're able to do those things. And if there's stuff that comes down from on high that'll make that tougher, or ways that you're going to change, that you're the mouthpiece that it comes through, and you're able to work hand in hand with them to make sure things happen. The other thing that happened in that job was we had a promotions director at a radio station. It's not uncommon to have nights out, right? It's a bar night. We're taking to your DJ and you're taking to your promotions team. We're giving out free stuff. And I had one of the college, like 20-year-old girls was there with one of our DJs, and coming in the next day, I'd heard that, he had said some things he should not have said. He'd already been reprimanded and was going to be gone for a week, but I went to her and was like, okay, well, we're just going to shift and you don't have to, ever work with him again. And about 3 hours later, she came back in and said, I hear you. I understand that. Thank you for that. I can handle him, but I've done so much to build that event. Don't take that event away from me. And to be able to step in and say, okay, if that's how you feel, and if, like, my whole thing is I wanted to make sure you were protected, and if you feel protected and fine with it, but you don't want to leave that event, then okay, stay with that event. And we were able to do that. And that growth, Julie wound up from there, her career taking her as a field producer for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver for the past 10 years. So I think her big claim to fame is the 2016 explosion of 2016 at MetLife Stadium. She's the one that produced that whole segment. So,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
Those are great stories. Thank you for sharing those.
Mhm.
So in your current role at NAB, can you tell us how you intentionally design programming that ensures diverse voices are invited and heard?
Absolutely. The way that we put together NAB Show and NAB Show New York's programming is primarily trends based. And then once we figure out and identify the primary trends that we'll wind up calling the verticals of the show, we determine what partners to work with or what conversations we want to have. And then really across the team, it comes down to doing the research and making sure that as we put these panels together, we are looking for people who are not just, white men like I am. I will admit, when we get into some broadcast and engineering wonkiness, that gets a little tough. So what they've done is they have a search committee that, as people put in their papers and everything, rate, grade, and go through all of that to try to figure out. It's also, I think, worth mentioning that, the small but mighty content team at NAB Show is a team of 4, and I'm just the way that it went up, I'm the only male, right? We've got Monica Cho and Tien Jin, who also work hand in hand to put our panels together, and Justine McVaney recently named as the head of it. So it puts things through a lens. And when we think about who's going to wind up standing on our main stage, we're always making sure that we want to be fully inclusive and give a full spectrum and picture of our industry, because it is a very diverse industry, both nationally and internationally.
So speaking of that, because your numbers are good when you said 23% of the speakers, and then you talked about that committee. How did you what were some of the steps that you took as an organization to get you to such favorable, diverse population of speakers and folks within the NAB world?
So I think within NAB, I think it came down to the core values and trying to structure and say what we wanted the organization to be. And I think that happened probably 2009, 10, and 11, somewhere in there, when I was very young in the organization, but I do remember a shift. And it certainly helps us with the organization being based in Washington, D.C., which is a multicultural city, because primarily outside of myself and a handful of others, you've got the core of NAB, which is about 115, 20 people working out of the DC area. When it came to speakers, there'd always been a want and desire, and I came up from doing things on our radio side to have diversity and to ensure, as we built committees, that we were placing diverse voices and people on there, because then they're going to have diverse networks to go to. But it's gone through different machinations. There was a year pre-COVID that we wanted to specifically hit a number, put a KPI in to say, this is how much we want to get to. And we did that for a couple of years. And once we did that, kind of set our bar as, our baseline, I guess I would say. And then from there, we just wanted to be omnipresent, that, we want the biggest and best voices on that stage. And thankfully, women and people of color are starting to take some of those higher roles. And I think it's partially due to the fact that when someone has one, we invite and we try to put them on a stage.
That's awesome. So what are some things that anyone can do in their daily work to perform allyship? What are some things that you might recommend?
I mean, the harkening back to the presentation a little bit, broadcasting that purpose, right? Like letting people know that part of your purpose while you're here is to help others. One of our members, Dion Livingston, who ran the largest hip hop station in New York, WBLS for Radio 1 for many years. His biggest thing as the GM, he said, when I hire people in, like, my job's to get them coached up to know what their job is supposed to be, and then their job's to do their job, and my job's to help prepare them for their next job. It's like, once we get you settled and figured out for what you're supposed to do here, tell me what you want to do, and then that's my goal over the course of the time that you're an employee with me, is to get you ready for that next one. And I take that to heart, because I think that's when you show that to people, regardless of ethnicity or creed, you're showing them that you are trying to advance them as they're trying to advance your business. That's when you get a motivated employee. That's when you get somebody that you're mentoring, and that's when you get people that move forward in the business. Or you can at least identify the ones that do from the ones that are just there for paycheck for the moment, or might have things going on with family where it's just, hey, I'm head down for these hours to do this for you, but then I've got stuff outside of work that constitutes the rest of my life.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
How do curiosity and listening influence the way you shape NAB's educational experiences?
Look, that's the beauty of what the podcast was, as I was hosting, is you're just asking the right questions to know that we have differing opinions across every vertical, and we can pick streaming here that you want to hear from, to see how people want to move the industry forward, how it's going to move, how then that might affect the broadcast membership that you have. Hearing that and letting people put that out into the world, into the zeitgeist, so to speak, allows then for you to form broader opinions on things and be able to take that to decision makers, if that's you or if that's other people in your company, to kind of say, here's what everything's happening here. Now let's use our expertise to move it forward the way that we want.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about influence and amplifying voices. So with platforms like NAB Show and NAB Amplify, how do you ensure these forums model allyship for the broader industry?
Gotcha. Well, and I do need to mention, and I apologize because I must have not been, it was still in my bio. NAB Amplify has been folded into nabshow.com. We have a topics and trends area that is primarily where all of that, outside of the show education happens. So it's all still there. It's just not under that name anymore. Although I miss it. It brings a tear to my eye hearing it, because I thought that was a great brand that we had. Look, when it comes to it, it's again forging those relationships and letting people continue a conversation. That's the big thing that I see, and that's why I like the trends and topics area, because we have these tremendous panels that on the floor get filmed and up in conference rooms do not, that can be the jump start to conversations consistently, and having the right included voices in there to have that conversation as you go along, right? Like, so, for instance, we do a women in streaming media panel this year at NAB Show Las Vegas. There's no reason why whatever topic that we centralize on, we can't follow up throughout the course of the summer with a couple of different follow-up, posts, blogs, podcast interviews, videos, or what have you, in that topic trends area, to keep that conversation going, to keep the right voices included and amplified.
That's great. Can you recall maybe an event, Josh, at NAB recently that truly embodied the spirit of allyship in action?
I'll tell you what, we have a broadcast leadership training class that's been going on for 25 years that the NAB Leadership Foundation does. Now this, this leans itself heavy into broadcast, and it's what I had mentioned that Michelle Duke does earlier, where they'll take 15 to 20 broadcasters who are at like the, sales manager or general manager level and kind of coach them up on how to buy radio stations and television stations and move their life forward there. That group meets every year at NAB show, kind of like an alumni reunion thing. And to have watched it in the 18 years that I've been here, to be like it's the 8, 9, 10-year reunion, to now like the 25-year reunion, and see how it blossoms and blooms and where those people have gone and how they are so easily approachable. Look, we partner with the BEA, the Broadcast Education Association, which has a conference in the West Hall of the convention center at the show, and there's literally 800 to 1,000 students that come for those. Watching the intermingling of that audience with the BLT students who are now running radio stations, television stations, owning them and all that is tremendous, because it's starting that allyship and starting that mentorship, right in front of your eyes at the show.
That's awesome. As we looking forward, as we cultivate deeper inclusion in streaming media, what excites you most about the path ahead?
Look, it's a scary path, with everybody being able to use, a mobile phone and AI apps to create content and draw eyeballs. But what's truly exciting is that, we've gotten to a point where any story can be told. And I truly believe as we move forward, both in broadcasting and streaming, the places that cultivate the best stories and put their audience first, and their audience is comprised of everyone, not just one set subsect. As much as you might want to have niche content, you want to have every niche within your platform, right? That it gives good credence and good opportunity to the people that are the best storytellers, that the money will take care of themselves, right? Like I'm always a big proponent of what's the end result that we want. And if that's, audience eyeballs, well, let's put the best product out there and the rest of it's going to figure itself out. Like we'll hit the profits we want if we achieve that goal that we set. And I think when you look at moving forward, what's exciting in our industry is that we'll have an opportunity we're at that point where I think everything's just expanded to so much that people are going to have a deep sigh and just want a little bit less, and we're going to see a constriction. And the opportunity within that constriction is to build these platforms or these, stations or networks that can provide to all in the way that people want to be provided to, that are inclusive of everyone, both inside and represented on whatever content is put out.
So with the AI streaming and shifting audience behaviors, transforming media, where do you see the biggest opportunity for Allyship to make a real impact in the next 2 to 3 years?
Look, it's definitely going to be, it's going to be the people that are most educated and that have the most forethought looking ahead, right? Like I think, look, if things go in an odd way, that maybe they do, maybe they don't, but AI starts having our industry shed a lot of jobs, then again, it's going to come back into, regardless of age or ethnicity, who's moving us forward, who can be the most intelligent person that we want to get behind, who's the leader that can see us through this storm. And I think the savviest leaders, the ones that are going to get us through things like that, if it's as scary as we all have seen in certain reports, or if it's a muted version of it, still we all need progress. The people that build the broadest coalitions are the people that are going to move forward, because all this is moving at such a fast pace that it's happening in multiple areas, happening on a global scale. We need to hear everybody's voice. We need to understand, because from that summation is how we're going to get the people that move everything forward. The companies, I should say.
No, I agree. And I think we're definitely seeing, we heard for years how the industry was going to change. And now we're definitely seeing in the last number of years, rapid change. And you have to get on the train or you're going to fall off, the merry-go-round, and hold on tightly.
Undeniable.
All right, I've got one more kind of a fun question, and then we'll open it up for everyone else to start asking questions, because this has been fantastic. Okay, so Josh, if you could host your dream NAB panel with any 3 people, past or present, inside or outside the industry, who would you put on the stage and why?
Oh my goodness, that is a tremendous question. Look, I am going to want to do, you want impact, you want entertainment, and you want fun. I still think it would be interesting, and I think, look, this would be a new conversation now, although it would have been the same answer 6 months ago. I've always long felt I'm a late night TV fan, so I want Lorne Michaels on stage with Jimmy Kimmel, with our buddy Seth Meyers, with Jimmy Fallon, and with Stephen Colbert. And I want the discussion about that place in history, how it's, shaped American history as it came up through the Johnny Carson days to how it will moving forward. I think that's just something like educationally I would enjoy, but also entertainingly I would. And now with what has happened with Colbert, it's taken on a completely different concept side of it. Unfortunately, it can like never happen because they're always all filming at the same, like to try to get them all to do something outside of, their Strike Force 5 podcast when the world paused and there was a writer's strike, is near impossible. But I think that would be one of the most entertaining conversations to bring to our show.
That would be great. I'll just say too, as a side note, every year in August, I put in for the SNL tickets. Never got them. But every year, you can only do it in the month of August. So every year I do, but I got my fingers crossed for this year.
Well, good luck, and I assume you've already put in for him. So
I have.
here's
Okay,
hope.
well, thank you for this incredible conversation. What stands out is that allyship is both deeply personal and industry shaping. It lives in the small daily habits as much as in the big platforms like NAB. As we look ahead, let's each commit to turning these into action so we can all play in a role in building a more inclusive streaming media industry. So thank you, Josh.
You're very welcome.
Let's open it up for some questions from our
You
audience.
can, you can raise your hand or you can type the question in chat window. Both is fine. This is Josh, this is first time happening. Like I thought of questions and you have answered those questions in your conversation.
Oh,
And
that's great.
first time this is like I really don't have question, but I have a lot of food for my brain. Like you bring a lot of wealth of wisdom and experience, and we're really excited to learn from you. Like the slides, the content, and the conversation, it has lot of experience. It's clearly reflecting that why you are such a great advocate and the way you're bringing the inclusivity to the industry. It's incredible to see.
Well,
My
and
learning,
thank you
yeah,
very much for saying that. And look, I do sincerely believe that we need to keep allyship up and keep pressing, but I also think we're all going to blink towards the end of our careers in the next 15, 20 years. And just looking at like that, that university stat, that there's going to be a pendulum switch and that, we're going to be able to retire saying we don't have to necessarily worry about it, at least from a gender standpoint anymore. It might still be from an ethnic standpoint, but I think that flip's happening, at least in America. But we'll have to see.
yeah. My learning today is lead with integrity, empathy, and kindness while staying true to your values and fostering the growth in others. So, purpose of the every small step you drive and make the change happen, it helps leaders to shape the future of industry. This is really, shows like how much a difference one leader can make with individual actions. And we always say that allyship is about individual, interpersonal, and structural actions. And you can start your journey with any single small step. So big thank you to you, Josh. We really enjoyed to learn from your experiences. And thank you, Lisa, and everyone who has joined on call today. For more conversations with us, you can connect with us at allyship at womeninstreamingmedia.org. It's been more than 1.5 years since we started the allyship pillar. So your feedback is crucial and important to us. So do share what you enjoyed. Any suggestions for the improvements, please do share them with us on email. Follow our LinkedIn page and visit our website to stay updated on upcoming events and ways to get involved with Women in Streaming Media Network. We always welcome more support and new members. Next month, we are heading to IBC, and Women in Streaming Media has multiple panels and Women in Streaming Media meetup as well. First, we have how gaming is rewriting the streaming script. This is a basically session which offers the essential insights into where the streaming and gaming industries are kind of overlapping and how to stay ahead of this rapidly evolving narrative economy. This session is on Friday, 12th September at 1:45 p.m. CST in room E105. On the same day, we have mentorship allyship representation. A first part of this is attendees with hear from the industry leading advocacy and mentorship organizations such as Women in Streaming Media. It is at 2:50 p.m. CET. The second part of this is Women in Streaming Media Allyship in Action, a fireside chat on inclusive leadership in streaming media. In this session, I will be exploring the important role of allyship in streaming media and how taking action as a leader can drive a real change. Along with Rowan from DPP, we will share the practical ways that leaders at all levels can support and amplify women's voices in the industry. This panel is on Friday, 12th September at 3:50 p.m. CET in the Hall 14. The next day, Saturday, 13th September, we have another panel, Allyship at Work, Stories of Commitment, Challenges, and Real Impact. Join me along with WSM allies and members as they share authentic stories about allyship, the challenges they face, and the real impact their actions are making. The panel is on Saturday at 2:45 CET in room E105. We're also going to have the Women in Streaming Media meetup as well. Follow our LinkedIn page to know more the details. If you're not attending IVC, no worries at all. The next month, we will meet with an awesome ally of the month who is going to share IVC highlight session on key topics in the industry, latest media trends, and evolving recruitment practices, and more. This will be the wonderful opportunity to get the updates from IBC if you're not attending the IBC. So thank you so much. And Dorian, I'm going to send you the message. I'm going to meet you at IBC. I'm looking forward to see you there. And once again, thank you, Josh, for incredible experience you
welcome.
have shared with us.
Very welcome. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, Josh. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.